Let's take you to the U.S. next, and this is one of the biggest stories on their news agenda. Former U.S. President Donald Trump to appear in a Miami court today, facing 37 charges over his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House. He is vowing to plead not guilty on all charges. Sally Patterson, our SABC correspondent, is in Miami, Florida, and joins us now. Sally, hi. It's a big moment in U.S. politics, but let's start with the optics, the events outside and the expected events inside court. And we're sharing with our viewers live pictures of growing crowds, banner-waving supporters. Trump seems to enjoy an almost cult-like adulation, but there is diverse support. Who is there?
Certainly. Well, just down the road from where I am, those pictures that you're seeing in front of you of the court where people have been gathering now over the past 24 hours or so, waiting for Donald Trump to arrive for his arraignment. That is expected to be within the next 2 hours. We've got the world's media standing by, watching for any excitement for him to enter, for him to come through. We understand that he'll be coming in a motorcade across the city, and so really lots of the city has had restrictions put in place, especially around that court. There are yellow tape bits tapered off, and so to keep that area safe. But we also have been seeing his supporters and his critics gathering for the last few hours since early this morning. They've been arriving. Some have come from across the country, some have from nearby. Florida is, of course, one of his biggest support bases, and so people wanted to come and see for themselves the moment when Donald Trump entered into that court, which we're expecting to see really shortly. And what we're expecting to see is him to come into the court and he will undergo some of those checks that usually happen when someone is formally arraigned. He'll likely have his fingerprints taken. That is thought to be done electronically and not using traditional ink. He's unlikely, we understand, to have a mugshot taken, and that's because traditionally that picture has been to have a recognizable picture in case someone tries to flee, and it's thought that he's well known enough to not need that to take place, but he will have a picture uploaded, and he's unlikely to be handcuffed, but he will be accompanied through the court, where he will be brought in front of the judge and asked to put in his formal plea, guilty or not guilty. Now, he has over time and time again has said that he is not guilty. He said he's an innocent man, and in fact he's told media that he is planning on putting in a not guilty plea, and in the next few hours we'll know more about that. Now, crucially, camera crews are not allowed inside that court building. We found out just last night here in Miami that no phones or recording equipment was going to be allowed inside the court at all. So reporters in there are having to rely on traditional pen and paper, where they'll be scribbling down what's going on and what the judge is saying, and then they'll have to run back outside the court to tell the rest of the world.
Old-fashioned journalism, not quite on the minute as one would hope, but I'm sure reporters will do their best. Let's go to the charges. A lot of discussion today from some quarters on whether all the documents that were in Trump's possession and then seized were indeed classified. Let's talk about some of the major items in this matter.
Certainly. There is a number of different documents that are said to have been stored by Donald Trump after he ceased to be president in 2021. Those were all different levels of classification. Some of them were top secret, some of them were secret, confidential, different levels, and therefore different risks to national security. That's what the prosecution is saying. They're saying that the fact that these documents were left in boxes around Donald Trump's residence in Miami, or nearby Miami, in Florida, I should say, they were left in rooms where people were able to, in theory, come in and out, from a ballroom to a bedroom to a bathroom. These papers were stacked up in there, and they had on them information related to the US military tactics, to nuclear weapons, and not just of the US, but actually of its allies as well. So the prosecution claims that the fact that Donald Trump had these allegedly stored with no proper locks, no proper system in place to keep these very, very high-stakes secrets a secret from the rest of the world really put the national security of the United States at risk. We've also seen photographs within that indictment that show them piled up in these different rooms. We know that they were kept, for example, at Mar-a-Lago, which is a resort where there were many guests who were able to wander in and out freely. They were using pools, there were events, fundraisers, where thousands of people over the past couple of years have been able to wander in and out freely, and many members of staff as well. So there are real concerns here around what was on those documents, but also the fact that Donald Trump allegedly refused to hand those over when asked to by the National Archives. When presidents cease to be a president, they are supposed to give back any of those high-level documents and papers, and he did not do that. That's what the prosecution claims. And the fact that he didn't hand those in, many more of the counts that he's going to be facing today.
It's certainly a big moment in U.S. legal jurisprudence, and we've had a parallel conversation, Sally, about his popularity in the run-up to the 2024 elections. A front and a favourite contender, it would seem, if the polls are to be believed. So seeming again to trade off on whatever negativity might come out of this indictment process and his court appearance. But we will wait to see, Sally, as you've said, what transpires in the next 2 hours or so when Donald Trump finally gets that day in court. Sally Patterson is our correspondent in Miami, Florida. And of course, as those developments happen, we will be able to bring you on the channel picture and an update.